Welcome back to the show. Let me first put up the title of the sponsors of the show, which is Jintel. The video you witnessed just now is the new super massage chair from Jintel named S5. Now they are offering a buy one free one promotion plus an extra gift and free transportation charges to all of our viewers in conjunction with the Parents' Day. So the promotion shall end any time now because the Parents' Day is already passed last week. So anyone who interested on this promotion, please contact or WhatsApp 012-580-5025. Thank you. So we bring back our guest of honor, Ms. Tan Sri Tommy Thomas. Welcome back, Mr. Thomas. Wait. I need to take down the title first because I'm multitasking. So you see there are two computers in front of me.
You've done brilliantly.
Yeah.
Most impressed.
So now, yes, we are going to chapter 4, which is the comments on the current issue and politics issue. So my first question about Najib. I think many people said Najib is your nemesis because you convicted him, you charge him and make him a convict person. Najib is now making an application to nullify conviction of his conviction in SRC international case because he alleged that the trial judge Nazlan was having conflict of interest. Do you think this application has any merits in it? Previous law minister and prominent lawyer Zaid Ibrahim has urged the federal court to seriously look into this issue. So what is your opinion on this, Mr. Thomas? I think this is your background. This is your area. So what's your view on this? Is Zaid Ibrahim correct?
Well, I mean, I've seen the court papers and I disagree. I think this application is without any merit. But since it's pending before the federal court, let the federal court make the decision after hearing submissions from both sides in the usual way. But if you ask me for my opinion is very simple. I think it's an application without any merit.
丹斯里说他看过这个申请文件哦，他自己个人认为这个申请是完全没有任何理据的哦，没有 merits 就是没有理据哦。但是这个法庭这个申请已经交给 Federal Court， 就是我们的联邦法院来做出审理，所以他不能更深入的评论了，就看双方律师怎样去做 submission， 就是陈词，向法庭陈词，然后法庭自然会做出一个正确的判决。但是如果你问他个人意见这个是他个人意见，他认为这个申请是没有 merits 的，就是他要取消掉 SRC 的案件，因为南子兰有利益冲突，这点是不成立的这个是丹斯里的决定。但是你的看法了So my next question, I take down the question first. Mr. Thomas, after your interview with China Press last week, you have said that Anwar Ibrahim, the PKR president, should look into the mirror and ask himself why he has yet to become prime minister. And this has definitely triggered Anwar, as he almost immediately replied and requested you to look into the mirror as well. Immediately he replied. This is actually not the first time, Mr. Thomas, you expressing such views. In your book, page 496, again, I'm very specific, page 496, the very last paragraph of the page, I quote, you have wrote, Anwar, for his part, used his proceeds to publicly humiliate Tun. Errors shot by Anwar's supporter contain more lethal poison than those shot by external adversaries. Infighting again every so often, so carrion call would be heard from Anwar diehard, demanding that Tun to step down. Who needed enemies when friends of ilk were commonplace? Sadly, Anwar seems like never learned from all these lessons he has gone through since 1998. Mr. Thomas, do you have any further advice for Anwar Ibrahim, including his allies, such as DAP, whom I think they have a stronger ties with you? You have more than 40 years of friendship with Lim Kip Siang. So I think they are more willing to listen to hear your words. So what is your advice to Anwar, to PH? How can they turn over the downturn of PH at this time?
No, I'm not in the political arena, so I really cannot give any advice. But can I just give you the background of that remark last week, and the context was, I think the question was, why has Anwar not become Prime Minister? That means after Tun Mahathir, we had two Prime Ministers, and that was a question. And my answer really was that I don't know the answer, but there is some self-examination required. I wasn't trying to answer the question. I really don't know the answer. But insofar as self-examination is concerned, I'm quite happy to do it myself. And I think all of us should reflect on oneself, on what one did, right or wrong.
Yes.
It never injures anybody to have self-reflection and looking in the mirror. So I intended that to apply to myself. But it wasn't meant to be a great critic of Anwar. It is just that to answer the question, why are you not a Prime Minister 25 years later? Don't forget, between 93 and 97, he was our Deputy Prime Minister and touted to be the next Prime Minister after Dr. Mahathir. And we've had so many Prime Ministers since. So that is something that one has to look at. I don't know the answer. I'm asking the question.
Yes. Mr. Thomas 的答案是他在政治里关于这个问题大家可以看到我有翻译，我有打在荧幕之上他说他不在政治里，所以他很难给他们意见，他们是政治人物，但他觉得他要说一说为什么他当时会叫安华去看一下镜子，去了解一下自己为什么不能当首相，而敦马可以做了2次首相，安华却一直都不能。但是你说他其实不知道答案，为什么安华不能？他不知道，但是他希望安华能自省看镜子就是 self-reflection， 就是自省，自己反省自己的错误所以他说他对于安华的反应，安华批评他，叫他看回自己也去看回镜子，他说他没有问题，他认为每个人都要了解自己，要明白自己的长短处，要去自省，所以他没有问题。从镜子里，安华说我也要从镜子里了解自己的错误，他没有问题他觉得安华应该想一想啦，为什么25年之后已经25年的时间了，他还不是首相从1997、1998年他就做副首相，甚至做代首相到现在所以这是丹斯里的答案Thomas, my next question. Frankly speaking, I think it is very clear that the current government is not functioning well, as you have mentioned just now. Rakyat people has already labelled the government as kerajaan gagal. But on the other hand, the opposition is also shrinking and still dreaming to work with Bersatu, to work with Muhyiddin Yassin. And it is so clear that they are so fear about the election and would like to avoid it and make it latest possible by signing an MOU with the ruling government. Do you think this is a wise move for Pakatan Harapan? And we as Rakyat, do we have another choice besides of Pakatan Harapan for the unfinished and yet to be completed reforming agenda? Who can we rely on if you want a reforming agenda now? Tan Sri.
Well, I think I would start by saying that every step must be taken to avoid a general election before the completion of the 5-year term. Typically, if you look back at our history, most parliaments have lasted the 5 years, and it would mean constitutionally that you only need to have the elections, I think, in August or September of 2023. Certainly 1 year to go. So I would say that it is in the public and national interest for the election to be held as late as possible. Why do I say that? Because the people of Malaysia are really going through a very difficult period. And let's take with incomes first, and salaries and wages. Millions of Malaysians are on fixed wages. The salaries have not gone up, their wages have not gone up. During the COVID period, if you were in the private sector, you had no safety net, your businesses were stopped, small businesses were affected. So people are slowly recovering with the opening up of business. Their savings have been depleted. Even the EPF payment savings, which were for retirement was allowed to be taken out for consumption. So the people of Malaysia are struggling. And therefore, the last thing they want is a general election. And as I said, the government is stable enough in the sense that there is no motion of confidence being put into the Dewan Rakyat. The speaker just won't allow that. And so the government is stable. The government is safe. So there is no need to have a general election. So that would be my primary argument, that everybody should say, let's focus on trying to help the government take the right policies.
Yeah. 但是你的答案是他觉得应该让5年的任期完成啦，在5年的任期完成前，所有人都应该尽量避免选举。我们的政府还有1年的任期，他认为这是国家跟人民的利益来推迟大选啦，因为我们的人民真的没有面对很大的问题尤其是薪水和生活的问题，薪水没有上升，尤其是 COVID 时期在私人界完全没有保护网，而且现在是慢慢复苏的情况，大家都很辛苦，连 EPF 都要拿出来用，所以人民最不需要的就是大选所以这个是丹斯利的看法。So Mr. Thomas, you are agreed with you are agreed with the Pakatan Harapan to sign MOU with the current ruling government, which is a backdoor government, which has no basis, no mandate at all, and you don't think it's a time for election? And
well, they're two separate matters. I belong to that school which says we shouldn't have elections. Now, whether there should be an MOU is a separate matter, which is really very much a political decision. And the political parties which either support it or are opposed to it have their own political reasons for it. And I'm really not qualified to comment on it, whether you have the MOU or not. I think let's take one law that really has to be put into place as quickly as possible. That is the anti-hopping law, the defection laws. Yeah. So surely it is in everybody's interest, and we must get unanimous support because this is another 2/3 majority law. We should get 100% support, like Undi 18, for the anti-hopping law to come into place. And if the politicians say that in order to get the anti-hopping law passed through Parliament, you need an MOU, then so be it. Those are matters for the politicians to sort out.
So, Mr. Thomas, can you hear me?
We seem to have lost you.
Wait a moment, because another laptop was out of power. That's why just now I'm fixing it. But I can hear you. Can you hear me now, Mr. Thomas?
Yes, I can hear you. I can see you too.
Yeah, thank you. So I translate your question first, your answer first. 刚刚不好意思大家，我的另一台电脑没有电了，因为我用我太太的电脑所以刚才有一点卡兰卡布一下。丹斯利的答案是他认为大选应该推迟，但是对于政府应不应该去签署这个 MOU， 他的看法是不一样的而且他也保持这样子的看法因为那这是完全另一回事啦你要去跟政府合作，然后让政府继续来让这个后门政府来继续执政，然后去支持他们，是完全不一样的事情这个基本上就是他的回答So the next question is sorry, Mr. Thomas, is a bit of chaos because of the out of battery issue. So my next question, besides Pakatan Harapan and of course UMNO and Bersatu are never a choice for any person with a reforming mind. Do you think previous CM of Sabah, Chief Minister of Sabah, Dato Sri Safri Abda is a good candidate? In your book, you barely mention his name or his achievement and only describe him as a skilled politician at page 497. His party is ambitious. He had already crossed the South China Sea and expanded their wings at Peninsula. So do you think Warisan is a way out for the fed up supporters of Pakatan? Is Warisan a good choice?
Well, I think the problem with Warisan and Shafi Abdal is that, first of all, unfortunately, they lost in the Sabah elections was it 1 or 2 years ago, after the PH government had fallen. So I know there's a lot of money politics in Sabah and vote rigging and vote buying. That's been endemic since they joined us. But given that, as a reality, Warisan still was disappointing in failing to. They were the incumbents; they were defeated. So that's the first thing. And then when they fielded candidates, I think in Malacca and in Johor, again they did not fare well. It could be that there is a West Malaysian peninsula bias. The typical voter in West Malaysia may not be mature enough or advanced in thinking to say it's time to give East Malaysian leader some place in national politics. So I would say that realistically, he has a lot of hurdles to overcome, regardless of how impressive a candidate he may be or what policies he has. I think he's got to convince the typical West Malaysian voter to vote for him.
但是你的答案是关于瓦利山跟沙菲阿卜达，他说很不幸的，非常不幸的一点他确实用了不幸这个字，是他们输了沙巴大选，虽然他们是 incumbent， 他们是执政党但是还是输了，这是第一点所以他们没有一个基地，他们没有一个可以向外说服的论点然后第二点，他们在马六甲跟柔佛，其实是柔佛啦，马六甲他们有参与他们在柔佛他们输了但是也认为这可能是因为西马情谊节的关系，不是因为他们不好，或者是他们不能被接受，而是西马人有一个情谊节，他们不能接受东马领袖来到中央来当全国性的领袖，中央领袖必须是来自西马的所以但是你说从现实来讲，他认为瓦利山现在还有很多障碍需要克服，他先必须说服这些典型 typical 典型的西马情谊节的选民来支持他们，所以他还有很长远的路要走了这个就是丹斯利所要说的。好so did I take out the translation? This is the translation for last question I asked because now I only have one computer, so a bit karang-kabut. So this is the question I asked just now for people who not so fluent in English. So I have prepared a translation for you. So next question. Wait, I pick out the question first because now I only have one computer. So my next question is. About the anti-hopping law, which you have mentioned just now. Anti-hopping law, which has been seen as one of the most important KPI for the MOU, entered upon between the opposition and the government. And the tabling date of the law has been postponed several times. Do you think that the anti-hopping law is necessary? Definitely yes, you have answered that just now. Further, latest news from Bersatu suggesting that being sacked from a party does not fall within the definition of hopping. So with this definition, Azmin Ari, Juraida Kamaluddin and their allies will be excluded as hopping because they were sacked by the party on the subsequent day after the Sheraton move. So Tan Sri, you as the SAG of the land, and one of the AG's role is to draft bill for the House, for the cabinet. So do you think this definition is a good one? And will you include it if you are the person in charge in drafting the law?
Well, I think the way to deal with anti-hopping is to ask the question during a general election, and we've had 14, 15 general elections, typically does a voter vote for the individual candidate or the party/coalition? And if that question is put in the forefront, the answer would be very clear. 95% of voters, both in Malaysia and in most Westminster-style parliamentary democracies, vote for the party or the coalition. So so the voters have voted for Party A candidate, and it doesn't matter why Party A candidate, after getting elected, decides to go to Party B. It doesn't matter whether he's sacked, he jumps, he resigns, whatever. That is my thinking. Because the voters voted him on the Party A ticket. When he leaves the Party A, for whatever reason, there should be a by-election. And then then both sides would realize, both the party sacking him or he himself wanting to resign, will realize the consequence is an immediate vacating of the seat and the calling of elections within 30 days or whatever. And of course, you can have a saving grace, which is that in the last year of parliament, in maybe the 5th year of a 5-year parliament, you don't need to have a by-election. But the first 4 years, it's an automatic by-election, regardless of why you left the party. And the theory is that the voter voted for the party, not the individual candidate. And that voter has been let down. He must be told again, what do you think again? That is my thinking of party hopping law.
So if the anti-hopping law, which the government said it will be tabled on this coming July 18, they will table the anti-hopping law. And if the law includes this definition, is still a good law or is meaningless? Because if you want to make yourself being sacked from the party, it's very easy. Just like Azmin, just like Julaida, you just openly support the your opponent, then you will be sacked from the party. So if the law passed, it's meaningless for me. So what's your view, Mr. Thomas?
Well, I agree. Exactly. You can present a fait accompli, forcing them to sack you, or a constructive sacking. So you can arrange your affairs doing that. I agree with you. But can I just say that I would like to defer my comments on the bill until I've seen the bill. Let us see. Let us wait for the bill. When the bill is presented in July or August or whenever it is in the public domain, then I will comment on the bill. I don't want to say anything earlier and to criticize until I've seen the bill. But you asked me what my own personal preference is. I've already told you. I would like a by-election in the first 4 years, regardless of the reason why the candidate left.
I translate first. Mr. Thomas 的答案是他觉得如果你要谈跳槽，要问的一个最简单的问题就是选民投的是人选还是政党还是联盟他说这个问题的答案很明显，99%的马来西亚人在马来西亚西敏市议会制度，英国的西敏市 Westminster 议会制度下，他们投选的是政党或联盟。所以只要你换政党，不管是任何情况，不管是什么方式，只要你离开政党，被开除也好，跳槽也好，自己退党也好，那都必须有补选，这是反跳槽法的基础。因为人民的选择，人民投你的理由已经被背叛了然后我有继续追问啦，就是如果7月18号政府提成的草案是把开除不包括在内，那是不是这个草案就是没有意义的？你同意这一点吗？丹斯利的说法是他同意如果开除不当作跳槽，那是没有任何的意义的，因为你要给党开除是很容易的事情，就像我刚才所说的。不过他强调了，现在大家都还没有看到这个 anti-hopping law， 就是反跳槽法的草案，所以要更好的评论这个草案，要等到这个草案在 public domain， 就是给我们公众可以去下载，可以去看，那他才能更好的评论。但是如果我们现在问他的看法，反跳槽法应该是怎样？他说，他的看法是头4年，可能第5年不需要，但头4年如果你换政党，你一定要悬空这个席位，然后一定要有补选。第5年可能不需要，但是前4年一定要。这个是丹斯利 Tommy Thomas 的看法。So we continue. This is my last question for tonight. We already go live for 1 hour and 45 minutes. Thanks for your precious time, 但是 so my last question for tonight is about the Sam Curtin case. Her case, which the public extremely concerned. You were being blamed by politicians for filing an appeal against the first acquitter at the magistrate court. So many politicians, they said it's your fault because you filed an appeal. An innocent young lady has been deprived by your decision. So is it true that you were the one who made the appeal decision? Because in your book at page 408, you stated clearly that it was humanly impossible for any person to have knowledge, however scanty, of every criminal case handled by the prosecution arm of the AGC. So you were telling the world in your book that you cannot, as a person, as a man, you cannot know every prosecution case handled by AGC. So my question is, was this Sam Curtin's case was in your knowledge at that time and you make the decision because somebody blamed you, said you make the decision? And what's your views on the 2 times acquittal and 1 time conviction upon appeal in this case, Tan Sri?
Well, the original decision to charge the lady was made by the resident DPP in JB. I didn't know about it. And that's how the decentralized system works.
Yeah.
And then the magistrate did not call the defense and acquitted her, and that hit the media. And when it became a media news, and then the DPP concerned came to see me in Kuala Lumpur, in Putrajaya, and recommended an appeal, and I took the decision to appeal against the not calling of the defense, and the High Court agreed with us, and the High Court remitted it back to the magistrate court. I don't know whether it's the same magistrate. And then the magistrate's court again acquitted the accused. And I think it was my successor's office. I had left by then. They appealed again, and the High Court again found in favor of the prosecution. And now, of course, it's before the Court of Appeal. So it is one of those things where you can see the way the court is going. They've had different decisions. That's how the legal system works. We have to wait and see what the Court of Appeal does. Now, insofar as the criticism of that people make, that is part of the job. There is no problem about a public prosecutor or DPPs being criticized for any decision we take or the decision we don't take. That is part of the turf. But can I say this, that it would be a very brave prosecutor anywhere in the world who refuses or fails to prosecute a person, a car driver, who had collided into 8 cyclists who were killed. So 8 lives were lost. And a prosecutor who does not prosecute would really be very brave, because the more sensible thing would be to say, look, especially if the IP says there's a prima facie case for prosecution, let the court decide whether the accused has a defense. I stand by my decision, and I think it was right to prosecute and to appeal. And if we have a bad case, then the court will acquit. And if we have a good case, the court will convict, because finally it's the function of the court to decide whether we have a good case or not. And she has lawyers, and she has a day in court. But to say that she should be immune from prosecution is unacceptable.
Yeah. 关于这个沈可婷的案件相信大家都很关注。但是你的回答是，他说一开始提告的是州级总检察署，然后这个案件在推事庭被宣判无罪，连 defense 就是抗辩也没有 call， 也没有叫抗辩，因为连表面罪都不成立。所以州级的总检察署有针对这个案件来咨询他决定但是你说是他决定要进行上诉的，因为不可能就连抗辩连 defense 都没有就判输，没有 prima facie case， 这是不对的。他说大家要明白，你不应该随便去批评总检察署的任何决定，因为这是他们的工作， 而且丹斯利有提到这个世界上真的没有一个检察官、检控官会选择不提告一个车祸的驾驶者涉及撞死8个脚车骑士，如果有的话，也是极端勇敢的 prosecutor、极端勇敢的主控官才会做出这个决定。而且他提到一个重点这是之前新闻所没有的，就是 IP investigation paper 警方的调查报告已经清楚说明，这是一个 prima facie case， 就是证据很明显的案件所以跟大家的想法可能不一样所以这是从但是 Tommy Thomas 所给出的答案。好，那我们今天直播就到这里，在那之前我们还会有时间给但是 Tommy Thomas来做一个小结。 So we take a break now, Mr. 但是 Mr. Thomas。